Relic Delta has been in the game now for quite some time, ladies and gentlemen. I think the overall sentiment around this new tech that is in the game has generally been relatively negative, but I do think that the tides of change are coming, and people are starting to change their minds just a little bit. You can let me know if you disagree in the comments section down below. There has been a data mine recently that has confirmed that Relic Delta is now getting active in Conquest. And I'm here to tell you, that's not a bad thing. But there is one slight nuance. Here we are once again in the wonderful, rather beautiful Swigger Events Discord server. And Barbarossa, who is known for a certain few things, most notably I imagine the fact that he's got his own client of the game. He has got his own assets that he's downloaded of the game and runs on a private server. So he can do stuff like show us the animations. Oh my lord, is that loud? Dear me, who actually plays with volume in this game? He's able to go in and actually show us the animations of new kits that we can't actually see yet, like Cobb Vanth over here, facing off against a bunch of Relic 9 Banoffee pies. Not sure why, but there it is. So, my boy Barbarossa over here, he has actually done a little bit of testing and has found out that Relic Delta is enabled in Conquest. Now, we were told that Relic Delta was coming to Conquest in no uncertain terms when we had Relic Delta announced. However, they did preface it by saying, we're not going to have it active straight away. A lot of us thought that it was going to be in the one after the Stranger, so when we were getting Satil Shan, we thought we were going to have Relic Delta inside of Conquest then, but turns out no, it wasn't for Satil Shan either. Now, CG did release a brand new data disk to Conquest to help deal with some of the difficulties that are faced when you've got Relic Delta in the game. Most notably, players that have got high levels of Relic investments will find it very difficult to land things like debuffs and gain buffs when they have got a large Relic Delta benefit because they're just one-tapping units or killing them far too quickly in order to farm the feats effectively. And that data disk was this one over here, the feat training droids. I like how they're using leet speak over here. Those of you that didn't grow up in the 90s might not be familiar with leet speak, as it were, but that is essentially where you replace certain letters of the alphabet with numbers to create the same words. If you look at certain characters within Galaxy of Heroes, you will see evidence of leet speak, most notably in a certain droid that featured in a prequel-era film. Let's go ahead and take a look at L337. Leet. Like when I first saw the film Solo, a Star Wars story, I was like, did they really call a droid Leet? Okay. Leet stands for elite, right? This droid is apparently elite. Whatever. Anyway, this feat training droid's data disk was essentially designed to help us when we've got a high level of Relic Delta advantage. It will prevent us from defeating enemies whilst the enemy leader is alive, I believe, which come to dispel immune to tenacity up. Enemies can't have their health reduced by 1% while the enemy leader is present, but they can be instantly defeated. So this essentially allows you to kill the enemy on your terms, provided you have some form of instant defeat in the team. What this means in practice is whenever we have a feat that's like inflict 99,000 armor shreds or gain 200 buffs in any particular battle, having this data disk will allow us to do it no matter what the Relic Delta advantage happens to be. Am I right? Slight problem. In typical CG fashion, they may have forgot to put this training droid data disk back in. As you can see, just yesterday, Meathead did put out a post and say the team has worked through the issues reported yesterday and we're aiming to deploy a hotfix tomorrow, timing TBD. That's today, by the way. Unless otherwise noted prior to release, the hotfix will include Relic level Delta was enabled in Conquest, but the data disk that was intended to be included alongside it is missing, which has to be that feat training droid data disk. We'll be adding it to a feat to earn, which will make going after certain feats easier. And the Cassian Journey Guide had different requirements for Tier 1 compared to what we communicated months ago. Because of this, we are sending you materials needed to your inbox, enough to take Dedra from 40 to 45. Now, we did do an unlock of Cassian Andor undercovers, getting under the sheets with Cassian Andor, am I right? You know you want to. I wish I could say some good stuff about it. I will be honest, ladies and gentlemen. If you want, we can have a quick look through here, but this is very much in the same vein as what we had for Maul, all right? It wasn't particularly inspired. We come in, There's not even any discussion, there's no narrative, there's no nothing. It's just a standard battle that we see in Phase 1 of Rote, I believe. And this is kind of it. There's like all you have to do is let the enemy take turns. I don't even think you can actually lose this round. Not that that's a bad thing. I don't mind a journey guide event to be on rails, as it were. I'm not against that in principle, as long as it's not the entire thing, right? As long as it's not like the whole shtick. Because we played this game. It is an RPG, combat mechanics. It's supposed to have a certain element of strategy, and that's absolutely fine. I like that. Doesn't mean it always has to be, right? However, there's no animations. There's no narrative. We just come in and it's just a battle, right? And then once Cassian takes 8 turns, good job, right? Like there's no even end conversations. That's tier 1. Tier 2, and this is all that we can see of the event so far. You go in and they say, we will drop the carrier. We'll drop it and cover you for 6 minutes after that. We have to destroy this Imperial's weapons crate because it gives us some permanent buffs. And I did this at the requirement levels, level 55, and it was absolutely fine. Right now, since then, I've taken these guys up to 85 because why not? I'm going to be doing that anyway. It's very easy. It's very easy. A little bit trickier, obviously, when you're at level 55 because you don't have the investment. But it's kind of like there's nothing. You know, there's no, like I said, there's no narrative. There's no real animations. There's no, I don't want to say there's no effort put into it, but there's no effort put into it. I get it. I understand. I get the feeling that CG maybe isn't operating with like a whole heap of resources to work with right now. I'm not saying that they're on a skeleton crew, but I feel like the workload that they have to push out all of these units and get the era battles done and get a journey guide event done every 3 months, I think they are stretched to their capacity in terms of what they can actually put out into the game, right? And they're just trying to churn these out constantly. It makes me worried for things like, what about a new raid? What about a new Galactic Legend? What about a new fleet? What about updates to TW? What about updates to GAC? What about new game modes? What about expanding era-based content and stuff like that? How are they going to fit this all in if it already feels like they don't have the capacity to do stuff right now? Makes me a little bit concerned. Maybe my concerns are unfounded and they're just super busy working on all this back-end stuff, right, to make this game a really great and enjoyable thing. I hope so. I hope so. Quick sip of tea. This one here. Because I genuinely do actually want good things for this game. Anyway, that's enough of my ADHD going off on a complete tangent and ramble. We're supposed to be talking about Conquest. So, Conquest, which is starting in 4 days and 3 hours, is going to have Relic Delta. They are going to reintroduce the feat training droid data disk that will help people that have got high levels of Relic investment, like your boy Scribe over here with lots of R10s and R9s and all that good business. But what about when the shoe is on the other foot and you don't have a whole lot of R9s and R10s? Maybe you've got a 4 million GP account, you've just unlocked hard mode, and you're wondering how are you going to compete within Conquest? It's a good question. These over here are the hard feats for this upcoming version of Conquest, and I've got to be honest guys, they are actually pretty easy. Now even my 4.5 million GP account is just over a year and a couple of months old now, is able to go through and complete most of Hard Conquest before Relic Delta was active. With Relic Delta active, I think it's going to be just as easy. And the reason for that is, when I decided to invest in that account, I decided to invest in very particular areas. Number one, the raid. Okay, so I've got Tarkin and I've got Scorch at Relic 9 and the rest of the clones are Relic 7. That is a really solid team that can carry me throughout the entirety of Conquest because the maximum number of Relic levels that I'm going to be facing is Relic 5. So they're always going to have a minimum of a +2 Relic Delta. I've also invested in Padawan Obi-Wan and Master Qui-Gon Jinn and Keller and Beck, R7 and R9 on the bros. With Padawan Obi-Wan's Omicron, he is going to defeat everything. He's going to blitz through all of these sectors. So when you combine an approach like that, which I do recommend everybody does, you know, Padawan Obi-Wan and Master Qui-Gon Jinn, still very, very useful in getting the rewards from the Duel of the Fates Assault Battle. Get in there, get it done. It will give you lifetime of rewards that will always pay for itself, okay? Absolutely worth doing. The same can be said for things like Peridia Patrol, although I do think that one isn't quite as beneficial, and anything that you happen to have for late game Galactic Legends, like Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, who has her own event, Pirate King Hondo, his own event, that sort of thing. You don't need a whole roster full of R9s to get Conquest done. All right, you only need a couple of teams. A handful of teams that can carry you throughout the most of it. Doesn't necessarily mean you can red box, but red boxing is a long-term goal, not a short-term right. That being said, the feats over here, they're not so bad. Early on, you don't have to worry too much about, do I have to get every feat done? Because they're only worth 5 key cards, and we can actually sacrifice, I believe it's 34 or 35 key cards across an entirety of Conquest and still then get your red box. Win 10 battles with Captain Silvo and Vayne surviving. This isn't too bad if you've got any sort of turn meter boosting teams that can go straight away. If you've got JML, Watt, Tank Tech, you can protect them pretty easily if the enemy has got no AoEs. Win 10 battles with Cup. Everybody just recently bought an R10 Cup pack, didn't they? Well, we know that over 1,000 people did, right? So, I mean, again, these two, you could probably cut these out pretty easily. Attempt to inflict buff disruption 30 times. That is something that was on Stormtrooper Luke. I believe it's on Yoda and Chewbacca as well. Everybody's going to have them at like gear 12 unless you missed the last set of error marquees. In which case, it could be a little bit trickier. Take 50 bonus turns. Gungans. I'll get out videos for this. This isn't a guide showing you all the Conquest feats. I'm just trying to do a quick run through to show how easy these feats are, really. Win with a squad full of Tuskens. It's only worth 2 key cards. Skip it if you don't have Tuskens. Win with light side characters. Everybody should be able to do that. Win with only using the Stranger. If you didn't unlock Stranger, you can't do that. Win with Zuckuss surviving. Again, not great. He is, what, 5 months old now, Zuckuss? Something like that. 4 months and a bit. That being said, he is pretty tanky. And if you can defeat these stuff over here, Captain Silvo and Vayne and Cup, with them surviving, you'll be able to do Zuckuss surviving, even if he's got no gear investment. Next up, you've got evade 100 attacks in battles that you've won, using Grandmaster Yoda, Hermit Yoda, using Rey with any sort of ramping mastery with evasion mastery characters, really, really easy. CLS with AoE blinds coming out of Chupio. Lots of ways to cut this cake. Attempt to stun enemies 50 times. Jedi Knight Luke, you've got Royal Guard, who can do it on a basic. Lots of options here. Han Solo, Han Solo. Amazing stuff. Game stealth 60 times. R2-D2. Everybody's got R2-D2 now, thanks to the Journey Guide events. We've got Lightspeed tokens, all of the Zetas, Relic 0, R2-D2. He does an AoE stealth, alright? Easy money. If not, you can go in with something like Tebow Lead. Doesn't even need to be leading Ewoks, he will give you stealth. Okay, like whenever you take a turn, more or less. Or Maul with his Zeta on his leadership. Not even Conquest Maul, OG Darth Maul. Okay, there are loads of options over here. Win 10 battles with Forlom and Zuckuss surviving. Again, it's a little bit crappy that they have a Zuckuss feat in the sector before and then use him again. A little bit harder now that we're in sector 2, getting both of these survived if you've got no investment. But if you've got decent teams, that shouldn't be too difficult. Win with Stormtrooper Luke surviving. He's gear 12 for everybody, so it shouldn't be too bad. Win with a full squad of Galactic Republic surviving. Gas, 501st, Padme. There's Keller and Beck. There's loads of really strong. Galactic Republic is one of the largest factions in the game with some really good teams. Win with Maul hate-fueled in your squad. Now, that's a little bit annoying, of course, because he was a legendary unit, but if you did get the 4-star unlock, you should be able to do this because Maul is incredibly strong, even at 4 stars. Win without using any attacker units on your squad. Maul is an attacker, a little bit annoying. Buff immunity 40 times. Padawan Obi-Wan. Done. With his Omicron, of course. Win 10 battles with no tanks on your squad. Padawan Obi-Wan. No, there's lots of good things here. CLS is a good one for this. You can also go in with like Night Sisters. They're really, really strong. Gain profit 50 times with pirates. If you've got Pirate King Hondo, you'll do this easily in a battle. If not, Mars can do it well. If you've got no investments, you can cheese this out by using like a Silvo lead with Brutus and then throw in any additional pirates using like Nest or anything like that will get the job done, honestly. Win 10 battles with Teal Shan surviving only if you unlocked a last round, but it's okay. It's still only worth 10 key cards. There's a couple of here. Overall, we might have dropped 20. That's fine. Win with Yoda and Chewie surviving. This should be fine. Everybody should have them at gear 12. Win with the Sarge Ventress Dark Disciple. Again, she's already at gear 12. It should be enough. Win with a squad full of Geonosians. That's going to kind of suck if you haven't got any investment in Geonosians, not going to lie, but other than that, Geos are actually pretty good in Conquest, depending on your data disk setup and stuff like that. Defeat 50 enemies with droid units. If you've got JML, you can throw in someone like Hu Yang and get the kills that way if you're not really that invested in your droids. Otherwise, you've got stuff like Afra Afra with the droids. Very, very powerful there. GG. If we've got Zealous Ambition, use Sortie with BB-8. Sortie is amazing with Zealous Ambition. Really, really powerful. Win 10 battles with Inquisitor Barriss, surviving. Should be fine. Defeat 40 enemies with Bounty Hunters. I mean, it's not ideal, but I'm sure will be a way to cheese this. Potency up. Padawan Obi-Wan. Once again, that Omicron is worth its weight in gold. Win with a full squad of Jawas. No thank you. Absolutely not. I refuse. Win with IG-90 surviving. Should be fine if you unlocked him during the last era. Win win without using Empire, and win with Darth Vader's dual end. Now, Darth Vader's dual end really powerful. Throw him with an EP Mara Jade team, and you will fly. But then you have to do it. This is one of the only issues I have with this conquest, is every single boss feat is a double dip. You have to do every single boss battle and mini boss battle twice. There's no way around it. Finally, Sector 5, 300 damage over time effects on enemies with an ability. Tuscans going against anything that generates a lot of turn meter will do that in a battle. If not, use Darth Vader and Lord Vader and stuff like that. It'll go around real quick. Attempt to inflict fracture 40 times. Now you can cheese this by using the feat training droid data disc. Go against a team where you can get lots of turns. GL Leia, AoE fracture, Thrawn fracture. Who else? Maul has a fracture. It's only on a basic. Darth Vader Dual End does have fracture, but it's only in GAC, so you can't really use it there. Finally, General Syndulla, I want to say, can do that as well. Attempt to inflict ability block 50 times. JML's AoE, Padawan Obi-Wan, don't think he does it actually, might do. But lots of other units. Bastila Shan, both regular and fallen, both do it on a basic. Gain evasion up 60 times. Han Solo, Padawan Obi-Wan. Win without using any bounty hunters. There's lots of not bounty hunters in the game, and win with full-on surviving. This might be a bit tricky. Sector 5 is a lot harder. Win with Pirate King Hondo. I mean, he's the latest GL. That'll be quite tricky for a lot of people. And win without using a Galactic Legend. That'll be easy. Global feats. Challenge path kills, not a problem. Foresight, really easy. Hermit Yoda, Grandmaster Yoda, they all pass Foresight. Jedi Master Kenobi with Grandmaster Yoda. That's 2 sources of AoE Foresight. You'll be able to get that done really, really quickly. Win 20 battles with a Sarge Ventress Dark Disciple. Not too bad. She doesn't even have to survive. Attempt to inflict Tenacity down 70 times. Loads of AoE Tenacity downs in this game. Absolutely loads of them. You'll probably be able to choose that in a couple of battles. Win 20 battles with a full squad of pirates. This kind of sucks if you've not been investing in the pirates. But hey, is what it is. If you've got nothing but Nest invested in, for example, you should be able to go to an early sector and get that done. Attempt to call allies to assist with Booming Voice. You get that from winning with pirates. Not too bad. Inflict Purge 300 times. Obviously, Reaver is the easiest way of getting that done, but if you don't have Reaver, most people should have Inquisitor Barriss. Everybody should have at least a full team of Inquisitors, thanks to the Journey Guide events. This should be a lot easier, okay? And then you've got a title. It's really not too bad, ladies and gentlemen, and I will have full guides out, and I will have infographics on how to get those done. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is don't stress too much about Relic Delta in Conquest. It will be okay. I promise you, you will survive. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Give the video a like before you disappear, and I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.